All right, everyone. Thanks again for stopping by the Exit Your Way Roundtable. With me today from Australia, I've got Danny Shannon. Wonderful talking to you, Danny.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here, brother.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to have you. Hey, you're the first person from Australia that we've had on our live stream, so that's cool. Right away.
Yeah, good.
And more importantly, when people look at your profile on LinkedIn or something, you talk about you're a gratitude maker, and I want to talk a bit about that. And I as we do on this, we like to talk a bit about your background so people can understand more and learn more about you, and then kind of about how you got where you are today, and then what are you doing? So let's go ahead and start there, man.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. That gratitude maker. I was always seeing one of the things I've learned about myself over the past 11 years in recovery is, and I know this just from other people's feedback, is I am this extremely happy, spiritual. When I say spiritual, like my spirits are right up, and a grateful kind of guy, and often I get asked why are you always smiling, Danny, and how do you keep a smile on your face so often? And I think I've kind of got a little bit of a recipe. I know I do, how I maintain my gratitude. Therefore I come up with this gratitude maker, just as a way of sort of letting people know that I think I can help people with gratitude, So that's that. And the sobriety king is it's a little bit of a controversial one. A lady on LinkedIn actually named me that, and I thought, well, that sounds great, but when I do say sobriety king, I'm just acknowledging many others who are on my same journey doing just wonderful stuff just like myself, but for LinkedIn it's quite a catchy name. And obviously I haven't had a drink or a drug for 11 years and 23 days, so that's no mind or mood altering substance for way over a decade now. So mate, for today I am the king of sobriety, for me. So yeah, man.
Awesome. Another anniversary is awesome, man. Every time you click that up, another one's a great year, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 11 years bloody older than I was when I got clean. So the first couple of years were really touch and go for sure, And even 5 years, 5 years is a massive milestone, but it's kind of like time's gone very quick since then, and the obsession and compulsion to drink or to use drugs is completely been lifted. And it's only lifted because I do a heap of things on my daily program just to sort of keep it at bay,
Yeah. I can imagine that. Just being able to keep your mind in the right position, and then keeping yourself busy, because a lot of people, it's honestly, they got a lot of time on their hands, or their mind's not right when they not in the right place.
Mate. It's very true. It's a fine line between. It's a balance. Need to keep a healthy balance to keep me sane, serene, and it's definitely.
That's for sure. Well, so tell us a little bit about that. So growing up, I mean, what really happened to kind of, in a nutshell, get you to that point? And then what was the thing that just said, man, I'm effing done with this. I'm doing something. I'm going to try to get right, or not right, but get sober anyway, because none of us are right.
Great. Look, I love how you said in a nutshell too, because I think the story of how I got here and the carnage of my past, it's no different. Look, I was a full blown, and I will try and put it in a nutshell, but I was this full blown drug addict who picked up drugs at the age of 14, and up until that stage I kind of had a pretty normal life. I do identify with having a loving mum, so there was no big trauma in my life prior to that. And often people think that every drug addict or alcoholic, it comes from like a horrific
Yeah.
childhood, and I don't identify with that. But my thing is, the day I picked up drugs, I just never stopped for the next 17 years. I just came from this pretty good boy with a lot of friends and quite a popular kid to a menace to society within 6 months. And every one of those friends dropped off.
Yeah.
I spent like the next 15 years in and out of prison. So boys' homes first, and then adult prison. I spent that time stealing, hurting loved ones, hurting people around me, right down to the lowest of the low, where I would, the getting and using of drugs was all that. I was just driven by this, like this demon. Definitely, it's like, I can't believe some of the stuff I used to do. How the hell did I do it? I don't know. I fell out of a third-story window of a rehabilitation centre back when I was like 21, maybe 19. It was a massive drop. It was like a 25-foot drop, and I hit the pavement, boom, and there was this detox place around the corner who heard me hit the ground, and they just anyway. And that was me climbing up sheets to get back into the third-story window of a facility that I'd climbed out of to go and get on. Like this drive that used to be behind me, and I like to think I use that drive these days for positive. But
Yeah.
But yeah, mate. Look, it was 17 years of just shit carnage. I hurt people. It was horrible. Am I ashamed of it? I wish it hadn't happened. Some of it hadn't happened, but today I really do draw on my experiences to sort of share recovery with others.
Well, yeah, in a lot different sense, because I don't understand your experience as well as you, but often when you see people that are really, really good at something, they probably started at a pretty low position to get that good, and they failed a lot along the way. And maybe that's just you're getting your practice in, so now it's going to be better as you keep going. And
it's spot on. It's not spot on. It's exactly how it is.
So I see your stuff, the content you're putting out, and just the sheer the positive emotions flow from you.
Yeah.
And that's just what has always attracted me to, hey, stop and listen to what you've got to say. When we've interacted before on some live chats and stuff, and it's always cool to hear what you're talking about and how you're helping people, because you're still counseling people, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, my day is pretty much filled every day with some type of interaction with at least 1, 2, maybe 10 different addicts in recovery on their journey. Now, I'm not saying that stuff where I'm necessarily helping people. I'm doing that stuff for me too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the opposite to addiction is connection. It's my connection with other human beings. And actually, the more I give back to humanity and to my mates and to my peers and anyone I can help, the more I believe the universe will provide. So it's kind of like a 24-hour job. But on top of that, I get paid by a rehabilitation centre called Glebe House. It's actually the program I went through back in September 2009. I scored a job there in about 2012, and I've been moving forward ever since in that facility. So I do spend 48 hours each week living with a bunch of men in a rehabilitation centre, teaching them how to live. That's my best way to describe it. I actually get paid to show people how I live. I just do my normal thing, David, there. But
Yeah.
I just show them how I do it,
Yeah.
And boom, it's the best job on earth.
Wow. Well, you touched on one thing there that I think is true, is when you're helping other people, you get it back double. You just get it back double, man. That's the way it is.
So true, mate. It's so true. And see, people, instant gratification. Sometimes when we think we hear that, right? That the more I give, the more I get back. But when we give something, often people want something in return, and it just doesn't work. I reckon. I reckon the action I put in today and yesterday is the stuff that's going to make me happy tomorrow and next week.
Yeah.
Every day I've got to continue that balance to keep giving back, because it might not come back, but it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and you feel good helping people, and you think it's going to come back, but you're not counting on it, because you're not in it because you want that back. You're in it because you're helping people.
Yeah, true. David, I'm not, it's funny. Yesterday I was sitting there at a shopping centre, and I was having something to eat. And one thing I do a lot, and this is something I learned in counselling, is through my supervision with my supervisor to help me, is be the conscious observer. So watch people, which is something I do often. I look around and I was watching people, just interacting, walking past with their children. It's something I do often, and I think, like, are they happy? And I want to try and bring a smile to people's face if I can. So if I get an opportunity where I'll say hello and how you doing to someone who looks angry, I want to do that. It's this thing I've got where I want to make. I don't know if it's I want to make them smile, but if I see them not looking happy, and just because they don't look happy, I've learned doesn't mean they're not.
Yeah.
Some people just got a face on them, but I still want to try and make someone smile. And very often I am interacting with strangers and they just look at me like they don't give a smile back. They just think, what's this guy doing, mate? You're like, shut up. But whatever, it doesn't matter, mate. That's the stuff that makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no doubt. I mean, because it's just, you gotta let it out when it's in, man. You gotta let it out, and you gotta let other people experience it as well. Because, when you look at things, and this is something that I don't know. I learned this a while ago, and if you wake up, that's your first gift of the day. You woke up.
Yeah.
So man, get on from there. Be happy, because there's a lot of people, and as a friend of mine, Pete Alexander, told me one time. He said, if you look at everyone that's been alive in the history of the earth, it's like, what did he say? 4 out of 5 are dead. So we're pretty damn lucky. Just
we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Wow, is that right, eh? That's a great statistic. Well, it's not a good statistic, but
it is what it is. So we woke up today. So let's use it. Let's have some fun with it, if nothing else. And then the other thing, because I've got kids, and they get down about something. I said, listen, if it's not going to make a difference in a year, don't sweat it that much. If it's not going to make a difference from 5, if it's going to make it, if it is, well, then think about it a little bit. But then still, it's probably not as bad. And that's if I see people doing, some people anyway, it seems like it's a big problem. When you look at it, it's like, okay, come on, it's not really that big in the whole scheme of things. Yeah, it's an inconvenience, but but when you do like you do, and trying to make people happy, and you're trying to create that gratitude and have that being grateful just to be able to do what you do, it's contagious, and it seems like it builds upon itself every day. And when I see you, I mean, you can tell when you're talking that is in there, and it's great to see. Because I was watching a video recently that you had. God, I can't find it now. I should have found it before we got online, because I'd show it. But you were with another guy that that you're setting the table. It was his 5-year anniversary or something like that. It might have been an older one, but man, it was just awesome. It was awesome to see and to see that, and to see the influence, the positive influence that you have in helping someone like that, and it drew me to you. That's why I had to reach out and ask. So it's cool to see that. And a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people think that addiction is someplace else, or it's someone had a bad upbringing and something like that. And before we got on, I was mentioning to you that my kids have a first cousin that they lost to heroin. He was sober for a while, and then for whatever reason, started using one night, and he died. And the first time in a long time, he died. And then we have some friends of ours that have a child that's been in and out of addiction, and they're raising 2 grandkids. And and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And when you know that, and you see it firsthand, but I think it's something that that more people don't understand how close it really is to them.
Look, one thing I'm learning more and more, almost like each day, is that sharing about this stuff. Let's just say on LinkedIn, just as we are right now, it is bringing information to a lot of people who need to hear some of that stuff, and so, like, I'm very sorry to hear about your kids having to go through that event too. It's horrible, but yes, it is everywhere. And if you may not be able to quite imagine this, but this community of recovery brings it to a whole nother level of madness, because what happens is people get clean, and you just mentioned this, they get clean and sober for maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe even just a couple of days, right? And their tolerance drops. So, they're not dependent anymore. And then this monkey on the back gets them again, says, come on, you're right now, you can have one more. This is the insanity that goes on with addiction constantly. I don't have it anymore, but and then they go and they pick up, let's say, usually an overdose is from some type of opiate type substance, definitely. And they have the same amount that they used to use, because that monkey on the back says, if you just have half, you're not going to get stoned properly. Let's do it properly, and then they die, man. They'll overdose. I've actually been, I've only been to one funeral in the last 11 years, and I cried at my first one, and I've knocked back, or I've made a decision not to go to so many more, mate. There's been so many people, like I'm talking upwards of 50 to 100 people that have passed away in the last people I know, people that I've spoken to, not just people I heard of. These are people I'm connected with, maybe on Facebook, and it's horrific. It's like a war zone out there in recovery. Now, addiction in general, it's not quite as high, I don't think, because they're not generally trying to get clean and then relapse, trying to get clean and relapse. They're just out there. But when you're in recovery, it brings this whole nother level of of madness to it, mate. So it's difficult. It's a hard place to be.
Yeah. I can't imagine, but I'm sure that is hopefully, at least over time, that with replacing their habits, and then the physical part of it has to wane after time, but it's still the mental part. It's got to be a challenge. It's got to be a challenge.
It's a full-time job. You know what, Damon? I reckon the hard way, and the hard way means doing all of the things that I probably suggested to you in rehab, on phone counseling, doing all that stuff. It's actually the easy way, mate. So the hard way is the easy way, because the easy way, picking up, it's not the easy way, mate. It's jails, institutions, and death. Like, that's the result of the shortcuts. It's a disease, they say a dis-ease, and people can believe whatever they want. I do believe that. It's not something I talk about. It's a disease, but it's just this thing in your head, that obsession and compulsion that just takes over crazy, mate.
Yeah. It's but it's, it is, and you're a good example of this, is that you can overcome this. And if there's anything that people should understand, that it doesn't matter where you're at and what you can overcome it.
Yeah, it's true. And just so people know, and for your loved ones, I always, because my mum never gave up on me, I like to just say, like, if you do have a loved one or a family member or it's yourself, like, don't ever give up. You know, it's important to put in measures to look after ourselves as family members, of course. I'm not suggesting you don't do that. In fact, being there and giving money and all that's just enabling them even more. But don't ever give up, I think, because for me, I honestly had like over 50 rehab and detox and hospital admissions where I had a chance to pull up and stop, and I just didn't. You know, and then all of a sudden, this last time around on the 15th of September 2009, I just made this different decision for the first time in my life. And it's like, it was just that whenever I would get the compulsion, I would just do it. For this time, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try not doing it.
Yeah.
It's really simple, but it was the most difficult decision I've ever made.
Yeah.
And here I am, you know?
Wow. That's it is, like you said, you just made a different decision.
Yeah.
Very hard, but you made a different decision.
It was like a decision that I didn't think was possible too. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, and say you're in a community where you're seeing, let's just say, 100 other people who did make that decision, and they're looking happier and they're clean and sober. But you think in detox or wherever in the beginning journey, you think that's good for them. I'm glad they made that decision. But how the hell am I going to make that decision?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe you even feel really positive at the time, but then all of a sudden, boom, something clicks in and just says, do it next time, Danny. I don't think I ever thought, it was just like, let's just go and use this time, and maybe next time we'll get it, you know? And that just happened for 11, 12, 13 years, you know, all the time. I just, it's hard. It's addiction. And if you think about it, like maybe with another addiction, you know, like maybe chocolate, one for me that I struggle with, but maybe sugar or a food substance that you like, right? Maybe. I don't know if this is as powerful, but it's like, yeah, for me, I say I'm not going to eat chocolate today, and then boom, if I find a chocolate bar, and I just did actually down in the car, that's why I said found one. But if I find, I'll just start eating it, you know, like, and I swore I wasn't going to do it today. So anyway, hey, you know what, Damon? Gambling. For anyone out there with, I think gambling's like one of the most insidious and destructive addictions that there is, and I say that because I've certainly been affected by it personally. But it's one of those addictions that there's no really result as well. Like, you're not getting stoned or drunk, so you're chasing this madness, and it can lead to, you know, there's a lot of suicide in that area as well, because people can throw away their whole life in an hour. Like with drugs, you can only spend so much money on drugs in an hour.
Yeah.
You know, like with gambling, you can literally throw away millions, you know?
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Oh yes. That is, it is like you said, it is, and it is a chasing. There is no high to it where you're like, I'm as high as I can get right now, or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, you know, just on that, I guess there is a high. Like, there is this euphoric, and it's fantasy, isn't it? That's what the high is. Fantasy. It's this euphoric fantasy when you hear that feature or the bonus round go off, that ding ding ding. It certainly is a high. Let's not take away from that.
Yeah.
But yes, it's so similar to drugs. As I'm saying that, I can feel almost like the rush of drugs or the rush of the gambling. It's the same shit, except I think it's worse. It's worse, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's perfectly legal, and you know, in places like here in the U.S. where I do. I mean, it's when you go into a casino, you see a lot of retired people that just sit there and just toot, you know, and that's what they do. I mean, they in and out, and we experienced that with some of our family members too that were older, and you know, it can take you into some pretty bad places in and of itself. Yeah, it can.
My dad's a bad gambler. But hey, you know what? Like the solution to gambling, and drugs and alcohol, it's all the same. You know, for me, it's this total abstinence, and I use a 12-step fellowship to keep me
Yeah.
sane. You're on track, and it's much more than that too. It's about that connecting. It's about being honest, sharing our feelings. There's a lot. You know, I believe in a power greater than myself. I'm not a
Yeah.
religious guy, but I believe I can't do this alone. So maybe it's you helping me, maybe it's my mates, but I can't do this on my own, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. And there's a higher power, I believe, as well, and it is your people around you, and that's going to get you through. And in those darkest times, I mean, that's what you got to rely on, and you really have to. And no matter, there's all kinds of tough decisions in your life, and just how you choose to handle it is a result of a lot of what's around you and that higher power and how it can help. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you have a company that's called Encapsulator IO. What is that about?
So, yeah, thank you. So along my journey of recovery, I discovered at about 5 years clean that I was full of gratitude one day on my milestone. It was my 5-year birthday. I was thinking, I was working in the office that I was once a client in, that I entered for the admission process like 5 years earlier. And I was thinking, I wonder what I was like when I was sitting on that side of the desk. You know, like what was I thinking? How was I feeling? I kind of could imagine it, but I couldn't quite identify absolutely the feelings. You know, I do remember there was a lot of anxiety, fear, nervous, sadness, shame, guilt. But I came up with this idea that I thought, I wonder if I recorded a video now to myself for my 10-year milestone, you know? And as I came up with that idea, I did a little bit of research on some questions that you would answer for the old school time capsule that gets buried in
Yeah.
the ground, you know, to
Yeah.
yourself in 20 years. And
Yeah.
I came up with a list of questions, and I bought myself a camera, and I started the camera rolling, man. And I started answering these questions, Damon, and instantly I realized this was the weirdest thing I've ever done. Recording a video message to myself in the future. It's not something that we do, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so one of the first question was, what is today's date? It kind of makes it like real that I'm sending this to the future. And the last question, amongst some really other powerful questions, was, is there something you'd like to say to my future self? And in that question, I always encourage people using Encapsulator to be kind and loving towards themselves, you know. And you've also got this ability to start talking about some stuff that you may not have ever spoken about, because these questions really help you to make the best video possible. Like, tell me about your loved ones. And when you think about your loved ones in 5 years' time, a whole range of emotions came over me. I thought, well, I hope I'm alive for one thing, and I hope they're okay too, you know. I hope my relationship with my son was stronger, was building more. At the time, my daughter wasn't even born, so I didn't even know about her. So look, 5 years down the track, on my 10-year birthday, I watched my video as well that I created, and
Yeah.
it gives me goosebumps even just to think about that guy. You know, it's like I kind of have this compassion for that 5-year previous guy, but it also gave me this tool to measure how far I'd come in that time, and that's where the gold is, you know. And as I was recording that video too, I thought this would be amazing for our men coming through our program in Glebe House to record video messages to their future self. Because, Damon, people always come up to me. This is such a common thing in recovery. People go like, when's it going to get better? You know, like, I haven't changed, you know, like, how long is it going to take? And
How long is it going to take?
it's hard for us to identify the positive change that's happening in us when we're in it.
Yeah.
So I'm now able to go, well, listen, John, take a look at your video from 2 years ago and let me know that things haven't got better. So this ability to measure how far we've come, But I think even more than that, Damon, the most amazing part about Encapsulator is this experience when we create our first video upload. It's like answering these questions, talking to yourself in the future. It's quite a therapeutic process of personal reflection as well. So yeah, that's encapsulator.io. We're servicing rehabilitation centers in my local area, capturing people's journeys when they enter treatment, and then maybe 6 months down the track, or maybe 2 years down the track, depending what the service would like for the clients. They get to revisit their videos. You also have the opportunity to continue updating your videos weekly, monthly, daily, depending why people are using them. And then all those videos come back in the future.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like you said, it's got to be an extremely powerful thing, especially when you go, well, it's like, and this is the only thing, it's not even close, but it's like weight loss, right? If somebody loses a tremendous amount of weight, they don't realize that they've lost that much weight until they go back and look at a photo or a video of, a year ago when they were this much heavier. And then they go, God, I really have. I'm really a different person now. And I think that's probably got to be very powerful, even if you did it the day that you went in to a center and you look a week later. And if it was nothing more than I'm coherent, I've maybe had a shower and a shave. That's all it is. And you look at it and it's got to be, but I can see that would be powerful for people.
Look, a week of alcohol, a week of drugs, there's some dramatic healthy changes that are happening as well, like get a bit of color in your face. You don't look so, you're eating, so you get a bit of weight back in your face. Like dramatic things can happen in a week of recovery, what I mean? And obviously over months and years, it just gets more extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's something. So that's you do that with centers now, and they do that with the patients. That's cool.
Yeah. So but I mean, I think we're all on some type of journey of change. Well, I am anyway, and I often hear, and I think recovery focused, it's a great tool to sort of record some goals, some hopes, your dreams for the future. I believe it helps us to remain accountable and motivated when we do that stuff too, But yeah, to answer your question, my job at the moment is to ultimately, when I started this whole business, the platform, I just want to be able to give this to every single recovering addict, alcoholic in the world for I want people to be able to have this extra tool to remember where they came from, I'm not there yet. I haven't got to that point yet. Obviously, I've had to sort of put some stuff in to get this up, but that's my dream, to be able to share this with every single person on a journey of recovery, to be able to just to measure where they come from and have something, a legacy for future generations also, something to share with their loved ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because it is, and again, I come back to the transformation in you and the positive that you're helping with people now. It's really something, man. And I'm honored to be able to have you on today and just to talk and let you share a bit about yourself. So if people want to reach out to you, what's a good way for them to get in touch with you?
Thanks, Damon. I'm on LinkedIn way too much, so you could always get me at Danny Shannon, or you could also check out our website at Encapsulator.io. You'll find our email details on there as well. But more importantly, if anyone's got any questions or struggling with addiction in any way, I'm always, like I've said earlier, I believe it's my job as a human being to carry the message of recovery to anyone out there who needs some information or help, So just send me a DM and I will always respond. At least Like, and maybe it just takes that first little step of reaching out and acknowledging that maybe you want some help. And I'm not saying help from me. I'm just here to give you the information, you know. But
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to share anything with anyone privately like that. And yeah, mate,
Yeah.
LinkedIn's the place for me.
Good. Good. Well, that's awesome. Well, Danny, I appreciate you stopping by today and talking with me. And man, I look forward to being able to talk with you more in the future. And just we'll keep in touch and we'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
definitely, David. Thank you
But
very much for having me on the show, mate. It's a pleasure.
yeah, and hey, you will always be the first Australian that we've done on our live stream, man. And I love that. So um,
Very cool.
keep the gratitude, keep helping. Oh man, and you know what? I didn't see this, but Ira Bowman's on with us today, and yeah, and
Love
he's on.
chocolate too.
We had Curtis Tompkins. He was on earlier, and then we
Hey,
had
Curtis.
and Kenneth. Kenneth was so
Kenneth, my brother.
yeah,
Yeah,
good.
love Ken.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Good
Yeah,
dude.
mate.
Yeah,
Look,
but
Damon, I use the audio feature very often, and amazingly, like I am in contact with people in America and from all over the world every single day on
yeah,
the audio feature. So me and Kenneth have had plenty of chats. You and I have
yeah,
had chats on the audio feature. It's the best tool ever. This is why LinkedIn, the ability to network worldwide is just amazing. Look at us. We're here
yeah,
talking for the other side of the world. You're
yeah.
in
It's
Washington.
like it's like we're in the same room saying hello, talking. It's like yeah, it is. It's awesome and it is amazing. And with an old dude like me, and if I can figure it out, anybody can.
Yes, mate. Me too. Cheers,
Good.
man.
Have a great day. Now it's 9 o'clock in the morning. There, my day is finishing up.
I'm off to the gym, mate.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.